Hello, I'm Grant from Maker's Vlog, and today I'm going to be talking about drones, in particular attacking drones. So if you've seen my update video, you will have seen this. Now this is a 2.4 gigahertz Yagi antenna. It's a directional antenna, basically whichever way you point it is the direction that that signal blasts. And this is about 28 dB gain, which is a pretty high gain. So it can take quite a weak signal and boost it. So if you've seen my video on dBi gain, or potentially a better video done by someone else who knew what they were talking about, dBi is sort of a ratio measurement. It's more of a comparative measurement. So 3 dB gain is double compared to whatever you're looking at. And so whenever you're talking about dBis, which is these, which we use for antennas, is what I mean. It's a decibel gain in relation to an isotropic antenna, which is a sort of perfect antenna that radiates equally in all directions. In radio, whenever you're using one of these, you don't want it to radiate equally in all directions. You want all that power to go in one direction. And the better you do that, the more gain you can get. And in this case, this is a 28 dB gain antenna. 10 dB gain is 10 times, and so on, and it sort of builds that way. So this can take quite a weak signal, which is what I'm going to be feeding it with, and make it quite strong. Now, the reason I'm doing this, one, curiosity. I want to see how easy or difficult it is to attack a drone. Now, my main area of interest is not necessarily commercial drones. It's more to do with racing drones. I've given a few talks, you may have been aware of, you may have seen some of them, at cybersecurity conferences. And the usual closer to the talks is talking about drone racing and attacking drones. Because racing drones are sort of like the Formula One cars of the drone world. They don't have anything that doesn't need to be in there. They're all very streamlined, they're carbon fiber mostly. There's nothing fancy in there. It's just what they need to go fast and maneuver. Now, because of this, they don't have any error correction. So if you jam the signal, even momentarily, the drone is probably either going to keep going in the direction it's going, or it's going to freak out because it's received a lot of spurious signals. Now, drones have a lot of defense mechanisms to help mitigate against this, frequency hopping and stuff like that. But I still think you just need to jam it for a split second, enough to throw it off. And you could, in theory, start cheating or fixing drone races. Because drone racing has become a lot more popular. There are a lot more people doing it. The prize money's getting there. And I've even heard that there is a betting scene arising. And when people start betting, people are going to start trying to fix the races. And I think this is one way that could be very difficult to see, because if you're the drone racer, you're flying around, something doesn't quite go right and your drone hits the dirt. These drones are going that fast and they're made out of such lightweight materials like the carbon fiber, the odds are it's going to shatter into bits. Now, not necessarily the frame, but the parts are going to go flying. It's really hard to diagnose, oh, did I have a loose cable? Is that board maybe a bit faulty? It's hard to tell. If you don't have someone there who's actively looking out for jamming signals, and if you've seen any of my videos on jamming, you will know that they're very easy to spot if you're looking at the RF spectrum. If you don't have someone there looking at that, it can be really hard to diagnose whether there was a fault there. Now, the reason that I'm wanting to particularly use this is I want to see how targeted I can make it. So if the drone's flying around, you could point it and hit that drone, and I want to see what the spread is like over distance. So would you hit all drones in that area? Would it be more of a cone? These whenever they transmit out, they sort of start going out in like a V shape, in a balloon more than anything. So the signal will start spreading the farther away you get. So I want to see how targeted I can make this, and see how specific drones can be easily targeted. Another thing that you could do, potentially, now I haven't seen this, they use FPV, first person view goggles to actually see as if they're in the pilot seat of the drone. And I have been told that it doesn't use frequency hopping. It sits on a fixed frequency within the 5.8 gigahertz range, and it's on a fixed frequency. And each drone in that race has a fixed frequency, so they're all on separate frequencies so they don't interfere with each other. If that's the case, then it's very easy to do a targeted attack, because you could just jam that frequency. Don't need a Yagi. I can just blast RF out and hit that particular frequency of the drone that I want to lose vision and go down. Again, still difficult to diagnose because it could be an issue with the antenna, you know, his antenna on the device or on the FPV goggles. It's still difficult to diagnose. But if that's the case, that'll make it a lot easier to attack. Now, I've been talking to a few drone people. I've yet to find a race organizer, and very few of them want to speak to me. And the ones that do are just sort of like, yeah, you could do that, so what? I'm like, it's like, help me help you. So I'm not doing this because I want this to go online and write a blog about it and be like, oh, look, you could do this to fix a race. No, I'm doing it to try and show how to mitigate against it. So I can show, look, this is how this can be done. I want to, of course, test and make sure that it can be done in that way, first and foremost, because it might not be an issue. But I want to test it, see if it can be done, because I think that's quite interesting, and then show ways of mitigating it. And that's the reasoning. So I will be making that at some point. I'm waiting on parts. If you see my last video, you'll know that. I'm waiting on parts and stuff to come before I can test that. And if any of you know a drone person, or you're into drone racing yourself or anything like that, please contact me. Let me know. There's emails and stuff in the description. I just need information. I need a drone with an FPV, or many drones with an FPV, to be flying about, and I can look at the airwaves and see what's going on. That's all I need to do. I think people are maybe a bit concerned that I'm going to try and crash their drones. I'm not yet anyway. But thanks for watching. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on Twitter. I'm going to go because it's fucking winter here and it's freezing in this garage. But yeah, thanks for watching.